Hi tribe, welcome back to my channel. And as you can see today, I have a guest, a beautiful one at that, and very smart. And I have Atlegang Govusa, and we're going to be talking about being an adult, buying cars, buying houses, and all things personal finance and how to navigate that as a young woman navigating the corporate ladder as well, right? So thank you so much for coming all the way.
No, it's a pleasure.
So let's start. So how I got to know of you, one of your videos went viral, right? About returning a specific car back to the dealership because it didn't make financial sense.
Yeah.
So I thought, my goodness, I need to talk to her about how to make that tough decision specifically, but obviously everything else around personal finances. So can you give us a little bit of a backstory to that?
Yes, of course. And I must say, I think I've said this before, that particular video when I shot it, I hesitated to post it. Like, I think I postponed posting it like 3 times. Like I was just like, I'm deleting this. And even when I posted it, I was like, I'm deleting it. I was so embarrassed. Like, I literally, every time I'm like, okay, I'm going to post this, I was like embarrassed. I was like, do I really want to share this? I really didn't want to post it. It was, I shot it because I thought, this is valuable information.
Yes.
But I didn't, when it came to actually posting it, I was like, yo, I'm actually
putting myself out there.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, it did well, and I mean, I'm glad that it had the audience that it did, because I got a lot of positive engagement.
Yes.
And it also opened up this whole debate where people actually, the similar people in my shoes were speaking about their stories. And so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision, I won't lie. Anyone who says going to a dealership and returning the car of your dreams is easy, is not.
It comes with a lot of emotions as well, not just because obviously you had done the numbers. But let's take a step back, because perhaps other people have not watched the video. So you were a qualified lawyer,
yes,
right?
No, actually, I was just a graduate.
You were a graduate. So you were a graduate.
Yes,
you had graduated with a degree in law. And I mean, at that time, often what happens is that's when the financial services come to you, and you have access to credit, overdraft, credit card. You can afford this type of car, you can afford this type of house. So take us back then, okay? You are a graduate, you are doing your,
articles.
You're doing your articles, and you've always had your eye on this car.
I mean, actually, no, because my dad bought me a car in second year of varsity, right? And I really liked my car at the time. It was a really nice car. And then when I started working, because I was staying at home, I had this money. I mean, I think it was a decent salary.
Yes.
For a person who just finished school and just started working, no responsibilities. My parents were not the type of parents to be like, okay, well, you started working now, so you need to contribute towards X in the house. They were like, you did well, you studied well, we're not going to eat your money, it's yours.
Yeah, it's yours.
Enjoy it, you know? And still then, my dad was paying for my car, so I had no responsibilities. And what happened is, over time, I saw, okay, this money that I have every month, because I hadn't learned this principle of saving, it's just getting used, like, on
I have money.
Like
I have money, I have no responsibilities. I'm a coward.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, like, I'd at the end of the month, I'd sit down and be like, where did this money go to? Like, I couldn't see something tangible that I was spending the money on. And that's why I was like, actually, maybe I should just start looking at cars. And literally, that's what I did. I started looking at cars, and I was just like, okay. And the Merc is something that I always wanted, right? Although, until you actually start investigating how much they cost, you actually don't know. So when I started looking, I started playing with the idea that it's a lot, but I don't have anything else to do with this money.
So I might as well.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I ended up buying it. I think it wasn't the only car I looked into. I looked into a BMW, I remember. But the particular BMW I looked into, they did decline me. And then,
so they did decline you?
Yeah, they said on my credit score, like,
yes, it was non-existent.
I couldn't afford it. And then this one, and I learned this, like, some dealerships will say, no, you can't afford it. And then some on the same price would say you can. And I don't know I don't know
what
how
is the
that works.
criteria.
I don't know how it works. But just because you can afford it doesn't mean you can afford it.
Oh, you qualify for it.
Yeah, just because you qualify doesn't mean you can afford it, right? So I got qualified, I got the car, I was happy.
Yeah.
I really was happy.
You were driving the car of your dreams at that point. Yeah.
I was happy. I was just, I was just like, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm spending this money. I'm happy.
I don't have responsibilities.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So after all of that, you have your dream car. When did it start getting uncomfortable?
Yes. So like I said, like what you said, your financial institutions started approaching you with products, right? And at first I didn't entertain them. Like when I started working, because I had the money, like there was no need for me to have credit. Because the money was there. But when the money was now being tied up, I started feeling like those products were enticing. It was just like, oh, okay, you're offering me more money.
Yes.
But
it's actually debt.
It's debt, right? And also, if you don't have experience with debt, I don't know. I think your first time experiencing it, you make bad decisions.
Yeah,
you make
absolutely.
bad decisions, especially if you're not financially literate. So at that point, I started getting credit cards. I got an overdraft. I also tried to have like the basic minimum, like I had medical aid, I had retirement, life policies. I just tried to make sure that, okay, the
basic stuff is taken care of.
And then it was like, okay, well, for the rest of it, let's just live a good life, And that didn't help because like what happened is where in the beginning I had like no debit orders, now I had all these things that I was paying for.
And it happens gradually, right? It's not like one big thing at a time.
Yeah.
It's the car, then, okay, I'm feeling a little bit of a pinch. Okay, maybe that thing it's okay, let me go get it.
Yeah.
Then it starts just gradually getting a little bit more and more.
Yeah, and the thing is when they I remember when the bank approached me with a credit card, it was like, oh no, you don't have to use it, the credit cards for emergencies, or you use them for a particular they serve a particular purpose.
Yes.
And I was just like, okay, fine, I can just have this money and whatever. And then there's also this 55-day no interest period where you can pay it back.
And you tell yourself, I'll pay it back before the interest rate.
But you're loaning your credit card is like 30K. And you busted. I busted like 30K in a very short period. Like I'm not going to pay 30K back next month.
Immediately, and that's the thing, right? That's the trick. That they know for sure that you won't be able to commit to the full amount.
Yes.
So that's when the trap starts.
Exactly.
It starts getting out of control.
Yes. It becomes a cycle. And I remember when I was taking out these credits, I didn't have a purpose for them. It was just the thing of more money.
Yeah, and it's accessible to you.
It's accessible, and because my money was getting tired, and I wanted to see the money, and I suppose that's where I started realizing maybe the car was a mistake, because you start realizing as much as you want certain things, sometimes you prefer just to see the money.
I hear you. I'm also like that.
I just want to see
if I don't see the money, it makes me grumpy.
Yeah, exactly. So it was when these banks started offering me financial products, and I took them, and then I became indebted. Like I was just in so much debt.
Yes.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable.
Sure. Okay. So you got the car. It starts getting uncomfortable. What else is happening in your life around that time?
I think, I'm not sure if it was around this time. I think I just got engaged.
Yes.
I think I just got engaged.
So you have the car, you have all these debts going on.
Yes.
Now you're getting married, you are getting engaged.
Yes.
And if you get engaged, what are you thinking about?
You have to tell your spouse, Kuti, this is what's on my plate.
Ah.
You know what I mean? Like now you start having these tough conversations. But I think me and my husband were friends at the time, right? When we were friends, I wasn't telling him about like my bad financial decisions.
Yes.
But I think you could see, like, because we work together, Kuti, the way you spend
and what we earn. It's either you're a rich kid or you're making bad financial decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So eventually he knew that, okay, this person is not handling their finances well, and he's very good with money. I was like total opposite. So he started sitting me down to say, look, you need to start fixing this thing, right? The car thing was my decision though. Like I didn't speak to him about returning the car. He didn't say, actually, maybe you should return the car. He did many times say you didn't have to buy it because you had a car. And
already.
You still have it. Like, you still have it. And there was like no point at the time. I had 2 cars. You could just take back the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you should have just kept your car. But I knew that it was a decision that I had to make myself. Like, no one could tell me, take back your car and I'll take it back.
Yeah.
And it's the same way you can't advise. As many people who've seen my video where I speak about my mistake, and they might be in a similar situation.
It has to truly come from them,
truly
and
has to
they
come
have to
from
realize
them.
that this is what I want for myself.
Yes. Otherwise, like, no matter...
It's like living a bad relationship. Most of the time, for you to leave, we can tell you this person is bad for you, they are terrible, and all sorts of things, until you make that decision one day and say, you know what, I've had enough.
Exactly.
Okay, so you were looking at your finances, you have this car. Why was the car the specific thing you thought, you know what, if I take this back, it will alleviate some of the financial pressure? It
cost a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it was my first bad financial decision. So I was like, let me try and correct the one that I think where I went wrong.
Yeah.
You know, is this thing. And I remember thinking, if I take back the car, I will free up so much money.
Yes.
Because I won't be paying these high premiums. I won't be paying
insurance.
This high insurance. Gas won't be the same. Like, when I did my calculations, my savings were just going to go much higher.
Yeah.
And I was going to spend much less on a vehicle, which made sense because over time what you realize is that the car's depreciating, but you're paying so much money for it, and it doesn't make sense if you really can't afford it. I think there is space to have nice cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Drive a nice car. If you have the money,
yeah,
do it. Like,
if you can do all of those things at the same time and still be financially okay and comfortable, perfect.
Do it. But with me, it was just like, with all these costs that I didn't think about when I bought the car, like maintenance, changing tires, fuel, all these things, when they add up, it's just like, I can't afford it, to be honest. I thought I could afford the installment, and it could very well be that if that's where it ended, it would be.
But the cost of ownership is always more than just the debit order going off your account for the car itself.
Exactly. So I just felt that if I correct this one, I'll be able to correct the others. And that's why I was
and quicker, even.
And quicker, exactly.
Yes. All right. So tell me about the emotions you felt.
I cried.
I love it. I cried. And that's the truth, right? Why did you cry?
I was so emotional the day. Like, I just felt, I felt like I was gonna be embarrassed. I remember thinking, I'm taking this car back. So at the time, what happened?
Because now,
exactly.
Yeah, she drives in there.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a lawyer. She drives a Merc.
Exactly. Yes. And a nice one. It was a nice car.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself that people are going to see me and say, "Uwile."
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
Exactly.
If there's anything, so people love.
Exactly. And it was probably the biggest thing that made me cry. Like, I don't want the shame of people thinking that Kiwile. And even though I knew that this was a good financial decision to make, it was still difficult. Yeah. You know, because I knew it came with that people are going to have opinions about it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm not also going to go and explain myself to every single person.
No, you don't have to.
I don't have to do that. So I think that's why I cried. It's really the only reason. The other reason, but I don't think it was a big reason, it's just that I was going to miss the car.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a nice car. It's a nice thing.
I'm going to miss the car. And I remember, because I was swapping it was a trade-in. I swapped it for a Polo.
Yes.
So I gave them the car. I was hurt. And they were like, gave me the keys of the Polo, and they had it there.
And the thing is, there's not even a celebration anymore. It just was like, hey, just give me the damn key.
Give me the car. They're like, pose in front of your car. I'm like,
I posed in front of a Now you want me to post in front of a Polo?
I did hate it. There's actually a picture, and I look miserable.
I saw you put it in your video.
They forced me to pose in front of it. I was just like, okay, fine, whatever. And I remember that, like, when I left the dealership, I was going to fetch my husband from the Gau train.
Yes.
And he knew I was coming with this new Polo.
Yes.
He found me crying in the car. He's like, actually, come on, it's just a car.
It's just a car. But I want to talk about the emotions we feel when we're making financial decisions, right? You made the decision to buy a car. truly out of maybe a little bit of naivety, right? And excitement. And you made that decision. But once you realize that this is actually not the greatest decision for myself, you went and you put on your big girl pants.
Yes.
Right? And that's commendable because it's not an easy decision to make.
Yeah. It's not.
But the emotions surrounding that decision, what are people gonna say? But also for you, you know, you just like, oh my God, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I made a financial mistake. And I guess sometimes truly, and that's why I have so much empathy and compassion for people who are going through a financial difficulty, because truly sometimes it's not easy to take back the car.
It's not.
So I want to talk about the non-financial aspect of it, where of course you had to believe something about yourself, that I'm not just a car and I can't just continue like this. What do you think about yourself that can be able to distinguish between the two?
So I think you have to know where, like, what is your purpose? Like, what is your tomorrow?
Yeah.
What is your tomorrow? Because I think a lot of us just look at what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And if I was looking at what was happening right now, I don't think there would be anything in me that drove me to be like, actually, let me fix myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm fixing myself to be a better person tomorrow. I remember thinking that, you know, even though there's this, every year there's a prospect that you're going to get more money, like they're going to increase your salary, or after 2 years of completing your articles, you could get promoted to an associate, you get an admitted attorney, your salary goes up, which means there's more money in the bank, right?
Yes.
And you think to yourself that will solve the problem.
Yes, more money will solve my problems.
More money will solve the problem, but more money doesn't solve the problems. Actually, the more money you have, the more problems you have. And if you don't know how to handle your finances, your problems become bigger.
Even bigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? So that for me was my driving factor. It was, you know what, I must think about my tomorrow. I don't want to make similar mistakes tomorrow just because I think I've got more money. Because all it means is that I'm going to buy a Range Rover.
Yes, now you're going to go big. You're going to go bigger.
I'm going to go bigger. I need to fix the problem.
Yes.
And so that's really what it was. It was just, I'm not going to think about people. I remember it was hard. Yes, I will be embarrassed. But I'm not going to think about people in making this decision. I'm going to think about what it is that I want to see myself become, how it is I want to see myself manage my finances, because I admit that I have an issue with how I deal with finances, and that's what I'm going to run with. Because at the end of the day, then it's going to benefit me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And if other people can do it, why can't I?
Yeah.
Because there were people around me who could do it. And I also, and it helped to see examples. You know, there was a guy that I worked with. He had black tax. He had to buy a car when he started working because we had to travel to the office and
you work crazy hours.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just easier to have a car. He had to get a place. A lot of my peers at the time, they had to pay these expenses themselves, right? Whereas I was the privileged one who stays at home. You already got a car. You don't have to have all these additional expenses. But I remember, like, when I sold my car, compared and where I was starting from, like saying, okay, I got to fix my situation, and looking at him, like how much he had achieved, just living within his means, literally, like this guy,
and coming even from a harder situation than you.
Like this guy, you know, I think he saved $500,000 in like such a short space of time. And even when he started buying like assets, like his cars, he paid them off. When he bought his house, he paid like a huge chunk, like 40%, 50% towards it as a deposit.
Wow.
And it was just like, it's just having the right principles and just running your own race. Like, forget what other people are doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, make your own decisions. But it helps. It really does help to see the examples.
Yes.
It really helps to see the examples.
I think that is such an important thing. And also, I think having people like yourself, having spoken your truth about retaining a car and whatnot and what it meant, but having those examples is so important. And I always reflect on just myself and my siblings, how they run their own race and they're completely okay, and yet they are not flashing. And if you're that type of person, perfect, right? But I know that I have good examples of people who are truly well off, of people who have gotten their finances together, but they are not screaming it on top of their lungs and saying, hey, look at me.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And having examples of people who are outside of social media, I think also, who are doing well.
Very
well. Like,
and
extremely.
They are not flashy. Like,
no, you don't even know them.
You
don't even know them, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, I actually did a video recently about living your rich life. And I know it's Ramit Sethi who coined the term, but I think I've always said, according to your priorities, but I think I like the words he uses. Living your rich life, defining what is your rich life for you, defining what are your priorities, defining when you go to sleep at night, you know that actually this is a rich life, not the one that you portray, or and being comfortable with that. So I think for you chose your rich life.
I did. I really did. And I really saw the fruits of it. It didn't even, I want to say that taking back the car it didn't instantly make my life better. It was still a process. There were other things that I had to fix. It was over time where I was like, actually, I see that I'm starting to live, as you say, a rich life. Do you know what I mean? It's not an instant fix. It's just the start, but it's a good start.
And I think most people are afraid. And I think I was doing a webinar yesterday for one of my clients, and we were talking about budgeting. And I said, the problem with budgeting, with fixing your financial life, people think that, it's going to be like this forever. So to your point where you say it wasn't fixed instantly. People want an instant fix. So if that is not going to fix my financial situation instantly, then I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. You see? But they forget that a year versus living the rest of your life like that, that's such a powerful thing. Just doing something for yourself for that year, for 2 years, for 3 years, however long
that's
it takes.
That's how you build the momentum anyway.
Right?
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. Literally, you just have to start somewhere.
Yeah, but I like what you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to go back to it about more money wasn't going to solve your problems. More money was going to add more problems.
It's true.
That the misconception is, if I have more money, then I will be okay.
Yes.
I will be okay. Just give me more money, then
I'll be okay.
But you haven't built the habit to manage your money well.
Exactly. So if you haven't started saving, for example, the fact that you have more money doesn't mean now I have money to save. Now you've got more money.
Money to do what you've been doing before all along.
And literally, that's what it was. And I remember that at the point where I started fixing myself and starting to make better decisions, it wasn't how much am I saving? It's the fact that I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
so important.
You save 100 rand.
But you started, right?
You put that 100 rand away, and you know that that's what you're saving. Then you've done that. You've learned, and if you do it for a consistent period, at least you've started to learn that principle. So it'll be easier. In fact, when you get more money, you can be like, oh, okay, cool. Actually, I've got 5,000 rand more now, so I can put 3,000 rand towards my savings. And if I didn't start with the little that I had, I don't think I would have had the.
You don't have the. It's not in you.
It's not in you. It's literally not in you.
It's not part of your DNA.
It's like, and I've seen it with people. Like, you can see that people who, let's say, they start as in my profession, you start as a articles clerk. Depending on where you work, the salary is quite decent. And depending on your responsibilities, you can see people live comfortably. But those
who become lawyers, Pam.
It really depends where you work, because this is a huge debate. Because there's a lot of people who like to be on this.
Of course.
I'm teasing. With the juniors, like, you can see, like, there are certain people that I've observed over time that the ones who I could see myself in, because there were a lot of people when I was moving from one job to another, I'd look at the juniors like, this person reminds me of me, because they're making the same this bad decisions mistakes that you made. I could just see it, and what you see is, like, once they get promoted, it's like they even go harder, like, just it's like, guys, I wish I could warn you, don't go down this this route, but you can't tell people what to do, but it's really just having that financial muscle. You need to build a muscle. That's the only way you are able to solidify a certain principle. You start somewhere. If you pick up 1 case, tomorrow you pick up 2, the next day you pick up 10. That's really what it is.
Sure. I mean, you did the whole TED talk.
And I said this to someone. I think experience is the best teacher.
But I definitely believe experience is the best teacher, and there are some things that you cannot learn through other people's experiences. But I think financial ones, truly, we can learn from one another.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to make the same mistakes by you maxing out my credit card. I mean, come on.
You don't.
You know?
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the conversation with he was a friend, boyfriend, partner, now he's your husband, you got engaged and all. It sounds like he was the one, you know, you like you said, you mentioned earlier that he's financially astute. When did you guys start talking about money?
Oof, it was quite early. I think maybe in our first year of dating, we were quite open about our finances.
Yes, and I like the fact that you were in the same industry, so he sees you in this kind. It's like, hi, Bo, when how are you able to afford this?
I'll tell you a funny story. Actually, in my year when I started working, all my peers, I don't know what happened, but everybody bought a fancy car. It was the wildest thing, and everyone was like, maybe they are offering them more money than all of us because we don't understand. This one bought a Volvo, this one bought an Audi, this one bought a BMW. It was like, if you went to the parking lot, it was like, and these ones, like, what?
And I'm sure even like the older guys who have been there, they see the same mistakes over and over, where people coming in and the excitement and oh my gosh.
But I think people are becoming more financially literate right now. I'm seeing less and less people, at least that's what I'm observing. I'm seeing less and less people making these mistakes. Anyway, to go back to your what you said about my husband. Yes, he's the one who's more financially astute, and we started talking about finances around about the first year that we were dating. Although I think even before that, because we were in the same industry, we were working at the same place, we knew how much everyone was earning and whatever. It's just, I don't know your commitments. You don't know mine.
True.
And then over time, it was just like sharing those commitments. But he didn't have me. It was me. Actually, I was the problem.
I like that. I like the self-awareness.
I was the problem. So I was very open about it. And I think at some point he was just like, you know, I'll offer a helping hand. And like in financial form, he was like, you know what?
Go sort yourself out.
Sort yourself out. And I appreciate that. I don't want to say it didn't teach me my lesson, because some people would argue that no, but you must pay off your own debt. You're the one who created it. But he helped, and I appreciate that he helped. The only thing there is that I mustn't make the same mistake again.
There we go. There we go. I'm definitely an advocate of someone who can help you out for sure, but also they must not be an enabler to someone who doesn't learn a lesson.
Exactly.
Right? So you showed that, okay, you know what, actually, and I mean, you were already could tell that you learned your lesson by being accountable and saying, I'm going to take the car back.
Yes.
If you were saying, you know, I'll just see, I mean, God will provide. You know, so already you could tell that you were self-aware and you realized that, you know what,
yeah, exactly.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with helping, but who do you help?
Exactly.
You know,
who do you help? You don't want to perpetuate.
Exactly.
Because it's like almost like you know that you're going to be bailed out.
Yes. And there are people who getting themselves into here knowing very well that, no, I know Atlegang will bail me out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. And of course, both of you are lawyers. Did you guys discuss marital contracts?
We did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, amongst lawyers, it's a
it's you already know. You already know the contract.
Everyone's gonna. I don't know a lawyer who's married in community
of property. Why is that? Okay, we know why you wouldn't do that, but obviously for people who are trying to choose between the different contracts, why would you not get married in community of property in your own case? You know, we're not prescribing to you.
In my case.
Yes, in your case.
Yeah, and I mean, if we use my financial history as an example, I think it's a good case, right? If you get married in community of property, automatically now half of my debt becomes yours.
Yes.
Right? And if we're trying to, for example, buy a house, then they look at us collectively, and I could bring down that ability or that credit score so that we are not approved at the bank. And you don't want to have these complications. I think there's also a whole lot of consents that you have to give if you're married in community of property when you're trying to acquire assets. So now everything you have to go buy via your partner. And sometimes you're not even buying something that serious, but because you're in community of property. But I think the biggest, in our profession, and I'll be honest about it, because the prospect of growing in the profession and making a lot of money are quite high. And divorce rate is high. I'm not saying that I got married with the
nobody
knowledge that I'm gonna
does.
get
Nobody does.
divorced. But you find that your estate grows quite significantly. And you want to just protect yourself. Really, you just want to make sure that you've got the option, like, you know.
And you know, Atlegang, for me, I often, and people know, I don't even beat about the bush. I always say, don't get married in community of property. Yes, it might be for religious reasons and whatnot, but practically, I mean, God gave us a brain to think for ourselves, right? And practically, it just makes more sense. And yes, for me, then you can say, okay, either out of community of property without the accrual system. I think then you can start looking at it, say, yes, is this fair or not? But practically, there are more disadvantages to get married in community of property than
there are many disadvantages to that. I mean, I know a couple who came to me and they said, yo, we've been married, and it's an old couple, they've been married for like 30 years, and they married in community of property, but one's financial position was really standing in the way of them progressing, like buying a house or finances, and they said, you know, we think if we go and change our marriage regime, it will help us. The only problem is that it's actually very expensive to change.
Yes, I've heard. How much is it though? For those who, you know.
I'm not sure about the figures, but apparently it's really
quite expensive
to change. Because you have to do like a notice to your creditors, Guti. You're no longer I'm no longer married in this marriage regime. I'm now changing.
And they can oppose it, and they have to write back and say, oh my word. It's a headache.
It's a lot.
It's a headache.
I think a lot of people just feel like, unless you're really passionate about getting married or to change your marriage regime, I think people just decide, I'm in.
Yes,
so I think the best option, honestly, the best option is out with accrual if you want the same effect as in community.
Absolutely.
You know? Out and out, you see with a lot of high profile people who are just like,
but what if you think you're going to be high profile one day also? No, I'll give you an example why I said this. I remember when I was doing my CFP, the classes I used to attend extra lessons with this lady come in, and she says, you know, when she got married, she was a young woman in her early 20s, and the partner was already really getting established, and he came from a very wealthy family, and it's like, you know, they just took her to the lawyer, and she signed, and later found out it was out of community of property without the accrual system. But she was like, you know, I don't care about any of that stuff. And now as she grew in her career and built her businesses, then she's like, you know, it's not about boasting that I have more money than my partner or whatever it is, but she was just showing us that also don't discount yourself.
Don't discount yourself.
Don't take yourself out of the game. You can also truly become everything you can become. All right. So, of course, you're a lawyer. You spoke about marital contracts. Did you guys talk about how you are going to manage your finances together as a couple now going forward?
It was part of marriage counseling, actually.
Yes.
They did say, because it's important. I think a lot of young people don't know that finances can be a huge conflict area in marriage if you don't have that sorted. And I think I've seen it with my friends as well. You sort of have to have your ducks in a row or have a plan, and there's nothing there's nothing wrong in planning. You know how finances are gonna. And even now with my unmarried friends, you know, when I hear them talk, it's like, okay, when you get married,
they live in the air. Somewhere.
What do you think is going to happen?
No, he's going to take care of everything. Exactly. In this economy. Did you marry a multi-millionaire? Did you marry a billionaire?
Exactly. So it's those practical conversations that you have to have. Like, okay.
I like the language you use. You know, it's my type of language. Practical, just make sense, put things down, have a plan.
Yeah, have a plan. Like, because otherwise, you get married, you've never discussed finances just because you think he has enough money to do everything. The poor guy now starts getting frustrated, and now it starts affecting other areas of your marriage. All because you just haven't made a plan on an area just like finances, you know. So, and I think it's important to contribute anyway, because we all have the ability to contribute, and it just makes life easier for anyone. And also, we're working towards one common goal, so why not be able to contribute?
Absolutely.
But I think the important principle here is just to plan.
Just to plan. Yes. And for me, even if your partner makes more money, I think there's something very powerful, especially as a woman, to be able to contribute, whether it's even in the smallest way,
Yes.
just for something for yourself, something for yourself. And I think it just changes the dynamics also of the relationship. I think, especially
100%.
for a woman.
Yes, 100%. I think we should contribute. Like you say, even if it's just something small. He can pay for
everything, car, house,
whatever. At least
you
buy
name
a banana.
Like, buy some lunch.
Buy lunch.
It's okay. I think it's truly more for ourselves and our own dignity and but I mean, I don't want to alienate women who are stay-at-home parents who have chosen to stay at home with their kids. They are contributing in many ways.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And I think their spouses realize that contribution, it's not a monetary contribution, but it's a contribution. And I think I know we're talking about finances, but I think in the broader scheme, what we're saying is that in a marriage context, both parties have to contribute in some way or form. And
I want to take it back to the contracts. Oftentimes when you hear people saying, don't get married in community of property, they think, oh, you don't love your partner. You're thinking about getting divorced. You're not going to manage your finances together. That couldn't be further from the truth.
It couldn't be further.
Normally people who just go in with, we just love one another in community of property, you find that oftentimes they are the ones who don't discuss finances.
Yes, exactly.
And they come with expectations that somebody will just take care of it.
Everything,
and when you get those unmet expectations, that's when frustrations and resentment
come up. Yes. And I think it's this thing about this thing around getting married out of community being frowned upon. It's more like a religion. I think it comes from the religious sector.
I remember very well, and I've said this on my channel, that when we were getting married, our priest said, so you guys are getting married on community of property. I said, I don't want to fight with a priest. But I just said yes, but I knew very well that the answer is hell no.
Yes, and same thing happened with us. I mean, everyone was like, are you guys sure? Why? And we were just like, it's practical. And they're like, are you sure? Like, it's practical.
It's practical.
Like, it's just.
And I mean, they're asking 2 lawyers.
Yeah, it's the most practical. They were like, as long as you guys are sure, we just wanted to tell you the biblical principle of why you're going to be married. I'm like, but you can still live it.
Yes.
You don't have to be married in community of property.
Him in the background.
You don't have to live like you don't have a common goal. You will live like you have a common goal. You just know that on a contractual level, because you're protecting all these other outside
and protecting
things.
each other also. Remember, if you are both in business, imagine myself and my partner are both in business. If things go south for him or things go south for me, then at least one of each. What am I saying? One of us. English. I mean, it's 5 p.m. on a Friday, so it has run out. The bundles have depleted completely. So one of us can take care of our family still without having our assets attached.
Exactly.
So I think it truly is just protecting one another and truly loving one another.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So you're married, you live together, and so the day-to-day stuff, do any of you deal with black tax?
Yes. I think more on my husband's side.
Yeah. Is it something that you guys talked about?
Yeah, I was aware of it.
Yes.
I was aware of it before, and it's one of those things that you have to have discussions on, even before, because you get a lot of demanding spouses, and they feel, all the finances need to be
just for the house. Yeah.
But I mean, you have to understand
the context from which your partner comes from also.
Exactly. Yeah. And even me, like, I might not have black tax, but maybe I donate towards a particular charity, for example. That's finances, and they are coming out of the household.
Yes.
So even that, I would say my partner must understand that, I use some of the household money for something else. So we might have different responsibilities outside, all of us, but we have to discuss it so that we know that it's not going to cause a conflict. It's not going to be a conflict area in our marriage or in our finances. And I think it's just talking about it and agreeing to it. I can't see why if you tell me that I have to send money home every month, why I should be like, no.
Yeah, you know, especially it doesn't hurt your family's finances.
Especially if we've got everything that we need inside. It's just about the transparency thing.
Yeah.
It's just about transparency. And a lot of, I think the out of community thing does encourage people to not be transparent, but they should learn not to follow that route.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like there's a thing of, oh, well, it's ours, so what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. And then people aren't as transparent when it comes to their finances. But it's a way you have to, in your marriage, it's like what I was saying, you have to live. You have to live
the principles of
those
oneness
principles.
And
exactly.
Yeah.
You have to. So everything literally, it's budgeting, it's planning, everything must just be on the cards. Everyone must know that these are the cards that are on the table. This is what's going on in my finances. This is what's going on in your finances. Even if you don't have joint accounts, because other people don't have joint accounts. I don't have a joint account.
We have but we know who's responsible for what, exactly. And we know, okay, this money we set aside for holidays, this money we set aside for, excursions and fun things. Transparency again. Yeah. And I mean, in South Africa, guys, we actually don't have joint accounts. You have the person who's you can be signatories on, but there's the main account holder.
Exactly.
So I know sometimes the language it gets a little bit.
It gets a bit muddy. Yeah. I know other people open separate accounts where they put the money in that account. It just depends on the mechanics that you want to use.
Absolutely.
It could come from you. It could come from that joint account that you've
then
created.
Both have cards or something like that.
But just makes whatever works for you.
Absolutely, whatever works for you and your relationship. So with that, I mean, I think I can have a conversation with you on and on, because I think you share so many principles and values of what I believe about finances, living a rich life, being able to communicate, planning. But what has been your key takeaway, obviously now as you are growing in your career? And obviously as you're growing in your career, it means more money. How has that changed from when you started working? How you handle your money right now?
So I think for me, the key takeaways, or what I've learned the most, is to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We have the information is there. People are sharing their stories. People are educating us on finances. So we've got the material. The material on the knowledge and is there. Right? You just have to start somewhere. That's number one. But number two, don't be someone that you're not. Because I as much as I would like to say to people, be like me, go sell your milk if you are drowning, right? Don't force it if you can't. I really, to me, it's like everything really must come from inside. Because at the end of the day, you must be happy. And even if you're happy, your happiness is temporary. It's for today when you're driving your car.
It feels great.
It feels great. I really do advocate for people being happy. So how that translates to me is that I have made sure that I have the basics. Not even the basics. I mean, now it's grown. I've grown in my profession, and I've learned of all these other products that are necessary. And I've made sure that everything is in place because there's now more money at my disposal, etc., etc., etc. But I also know I must eat my money. I must enjoy my money. Because otherwise I'll feel like I work hard only.
And I mean, you were telling me that you slept at 3 a.m. yesterday. So.
Yes, like I work hard just so that I save my money. Not enjoy it. You know what I mean?
You are saving it, you are doing all the right stuff, but you want to enjoy yourself as well.
Something, So there must be a balance. Like that's what I've learned, is that there must be a balance in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
It's okay to save. It's okay to manage your finances well and make sure that all these things are, in fact, that's great. But it's also okay to enjoy your money every once in a while. I'm
a big advocate for that.
Holidays.
Okay. Treat yourself.
Me too. Go on a holiday. I spend a lot of my money on trips. A lot of it. But I think it's just a reward towards your working hard and the stuff that you've achieved. You must have that one thing that you reward yourself with.
And I must say, even Pam can attest to this. Ever since I came back on holiday, I came back very rejuvenated. I'm more productive. I have even bigger goals than when I went on holiday.
Yes.
So it's just, there is something in that reward system that you come back and you are rejuvenated even more to achieve even bigger.
Yes. So run your own race.
Yeah.
Run your own race, but be smart. But run your own race.
Yeah. It's always so fascinating because when you hear people who are trying to get their lives together, because I never think, oh, I've got my life together. It's similar stuff. Run your own race, but what does that look like? Be able to say no to stuff that does not resonate with you. And I often think about horses. Horses, they have this thing that's like this.
Yeah.
Truly being able to do that with your finances also, I think is very important. What is it that I want? What resonates with me? What am I willing to spend my money on? Save, invest, make sure you stay out of debt, live below your means. They're simple things. Simple things.
My friend says this all the time. She says she has adopted this principle where even where she earns more money, she still lives like she lived yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you do it for a consistent time, for 5 years maybe. It just helps you. And then when you get there, you're just like, oh, actually, I don't need all these things.
Yeah.
It's a thing where I said earlier about building a muscle.
Yeah.
And that's her race. It's just to be like, okay, this is how I live right now. I know next year I'm going to earn more, but I'm still going to live like this. And I know the following year, and I'm still just going to live like this.
That is incredible.
And then I'll get to a point where after 5 years, I revisit the plan. And I'm like, okay, now what is it that I can spend more money on that I'm willing to spend more money on?
And now you actually are very liquid.
Exactly.
Also,
you're very liquid.
Actually very liquid to do those things and achieve those things.
Yes. So it goes back to what you're saying. Really, one thing you have to do is do the things that resonate with you.
Yeah.
It's easier to do things that you believe in. If you don't believe in them, there's really no point.
And then, I was giving an example, and we were talking with our friend, my husband, saying, is a bigger house going to make us truly happy? Yeah, sure. I'm sure it will. Definitely.
Yes.
But for how much longer, or just how much more happier is it going to make us than the one we are in?
Now, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the fact that we have flexibility to say, hey man, Pam, I'm exhausted. I don't want to work for.
Yes.
But also I think it's about choices. And I'll give you an example. I was completely depleted last year. I was flat out just exhausted. If Pam phoned me for anything, I wouldn't even answer. Like, I was just like, Pam, I don't care what you're trying to do or achieve. That's on you. And literally, when my oldest son closed schools in December, I logged off. I put the laptop away. I saw work in January.
Wow.
Right? And people say, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. And I think I'm absolutely not lucky. It was based on the decisions that I made and saving and making sure I live within my means that allowed me when I couldn't work or I felt depleted, that it was my choices that could lead, that could lead me to not working. And so for me, I always say, I don't want to be a prisoner of things. I don't want to be a prisoner of the fancy car. I don't want to be a prisoner of the big house, because if my bond is so high that if I close my laptop, that bond will not be paid.
Exactly. My dad always says you mustn't work for your money must work
for you. Yeah. And I mean, in that case for me, I felt like my money was working for me, that the choices I had made were kind of working for me, because I was able to say, I have nothing to give. I have nothing. I have nothing. And I would say that to Pam, like, Pam, I have nothing for you. I would say, Pam, I have nothing for you. But I think, again, it's about choices. And you made the choice to say, this car, it's not helping me in what I want to achieve.
No, honestly, at the end of the day, I think it was a good decision.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for it. I mean, I'm a better person for that decision, to be honest. I really am a better person.
And not just financially, but as a human being, and as someone who can make a decision and know that you've made the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, now I really have no pressure at all. Like, I've got no pressure to be like, I think I have money, but should I buy this car? Like, I don't have that pressure. Like, there's no pressure to do anything for people anymore. If I do it, I will do it for myself.
For you. Yeah.
And I like that I feel freed from that.
I like what you said. I like that. I feel. There's something very special about liking yourself and liking the decisions that you've made.
Yeah.
I think that's the most spectacular thing. Atlegang, you are brilliant. I love you. If you have not subscribed to her channel, I don't know what you're doing. Please go watch her. As you can see, she's full of wisdom, compassion, true values, and someone who is definitely in her lane.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this chat.
I did too.
Thank you so much.
I did. Thank you so much, Tribe, for watching. Please go to and subscribe to her channel. Is it just your name,
it's
right?
Just my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.